All right, welcome back. Last time... Oh, I hit the wrong button. We were sort of making our way around. I was trying to get here. I started getting distracted. We took an invisible bridge across to a tower that got us a spell. And I was trying to head to that fort. So this time, I don't know if I'm going to head exactly to that fort, but at least let's continue on that path. So it's kind of interesting. I've got the FPS going up in the corner, and I'm not getting a solid 60. And I don't quite get why. There's a second part of this experiment. I was definitely getting a solid 60 with my old card. I don't know if it's because I'm not using the latest driver. It's the Pro driver, but it seems like this game's not that taxing. If a last generation card could get 60, it seems like a high-end current generation card could also get 60. Another part... Oh, there's the bone snails. That's what gets me. Okay, another part of this experiment is... I think I figured out how to get the Avid DNxHD codec working. So I'm kind of curious. I'm going to do this video in that. I was sort of rambling on about how but it's just another QuickTime codec. But it does seem to use way less CPU. It's not as low as H.265's. But I am curious to see what it does. I don't know if there's anything down here or not. There's a guy. Wasn't expecting something this big. This could go badly. Nope. Okay, got lucky. Okay, a rune fragment. Perfect. So yeah, a couple of interesting things. Not sure what to make of it. I don't know if there's software tweaks, but again, this is part of the issue. I don't have to think this hard when I was using the GeForce cards. And again, I'm getting a lot of fade in. So one thing the draw to this card was the 24 gig of VRAM. And for what that could do potentially in video editing, which I'm still drawn to that. The 4080s are what I would go if I went a different direction. That, I think they have 16. Whoops, did I just get stuck? Those have 16, which, is obviously less. Can I not? I don't know if I can make this jump. And then once I make this jump, I don't know if there's anywhere to go. Don't know if I've accomplished anything by going here. I don't know if I can survive this. Okay, well, okay, I took some damage, but I did survive. Anyway. So yeah, just a lot of interesting things. Not great interesting things, but interesting nonetheless. I don't think I need to do this. Well, let me keep going this way. I don't know where that target is. I don't know if the target's up above or it's going to be down here. I don't know if I've come this way before. That was the traveling maiden. I don't know if that's the woman that the guy's looking for that's sitting in the round table hold. So anyway, again, it's more rambling, more technical curiosities that I don't quite understand at the moment. So it's hard to say. And I guess, you know, that's why people like NVIDIA's, and that's why NVIDIA charges $200-300 more for, in some ways, what seems like less, but maybe it's not really. I don't quite know where I am. Not gonna lie. So I feel like I just missed the request. I feel like it's down below, but let me just double check that it's not up here somewhere. Okay, so these things, I don't know what to do with these things. That's the thing I was expecting to pop up and start attacking, and I just don't know. Can you kill them? That's the first thing. That's one thing I don't know. Why can I summon here? In the past, I thought they showed up with like the guys in the boats, and you kill the guy in the boat, and then that takes care of the boss fight. Here, I don't know. I feel like I'm inadvertently, yeah, I was about to say getting to the fort. The other thing is I'm realizing, oh, that's why I can, nope, that's not what I want to do. Where is he? There we go. Double those. Bubbles up, baby. Make short work of that. Nicely done, Mimicteer. The other thing I was just about to go into, I don't know if I started my thought or... Whoa, 77,000? All right. The other thing I was going to start getting into was about the tiers, and that I still want to get the assassin one, and I've sort of gotten sidetracked from that. Because I think in order to do that, I need to continue Ranni's quest, and I am not doing that at the moment. I'm getting onto sort of the main story. And there's a part of me that feels like I should stop and get back on track to Ranni's quest. Because I feel like there's some steps I missed. I know she took off from her tower. We checked in on Celibus, but we didn't check the other tower, which I thought... It was kind of interesting. These things... Can't tell if he was casting the lightning. I thought I saw somewhere online that some of these things have varying levels of self-defense. Apparently it's okay, so don't sweat that part.
Is the path I wish to travel. What is your Shall I turn your rune? Let my hand share them with me. Your thoughts, your ambitions, the principles you would follow.
Now I wonder, since I took out the first, if it's gone or if it's going to come back. Yeah, he's going to still be there, obviously. Okay. It's good to know. There we go. That's what we're here for. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Why didn't... I thought I was stunned. Anyway, so yeah, I feel like I've sort of gotten sidetracked a little bit. I don't know. I don't have the health. I just lost 36,000 souls. Stupid. I didn't wait for him to walk away. Wait, is he hitting? Oh, I'm getting hit with a frost. There we go. Let me just double check over here real quick to see if you can get through the ramparts, or if they're... Okay, yeah, you can. All right. I wonder, well... So I'd say I don't think I've seen things take damage from the environment in that way, so I was like wondering, like, can you have that beast attack into the ramparts and impale itself? But that doesn't seem like what this is about. Feels like it would just break. So again, I just don't know what's going on. So like there's like some settings in the AMD software that might be overriding. Maybe that wasn't the case in the GeForce. Even when I'm like, it says I'm getting 60, like looking around, I'm like, this feels like it's not buttery smooth. And I don't quite know if that has something to do with like FreeSync, if it's something to do... Just don't know. And it's frustrating because it feels like this game should not be a struggle. I know I go on and on about this. But this is honestly like, you know, the stuff. I spend a lot of time thinking about this stuff because, you know, this computer is my livelihood. And I spend a lot of time working on the computer, obviously, and I spend a lot of effort to make sure it's like the best. Oh, interesting. It's the best working experience that I can have, and, you know, I try and fine tune it for that. So, you know, when I feel like I'm getting something that's not as it should be, it really kind of irks me a little bit. Now, I thought I saw some kind of glimmer as I was coming in. Almost like the draw distance for the glimmer was more than the draw distance for the object blocking it. And there you go. Something up there. Now we lost lock on. So part of the issue I was having with the DNX HD is I was using a sort of non-standard resolution. Like, you know, I output this at like 1920 by 1080, but I have a bigger monitor. I have a 1440p monitor that I have to play in a window. So I'm like, oh, let me get the window as big as I can. And to do that, you get a resolution that's like 22 something by, I don't know, 11. You know, I don't know what the numbers are, but it was bigger than 1920 by 1080. It was just to make it a little easier for me to see. And having it not match the resolution apparently was causing issues with the DNX HD. And, you know, again, this is sort of like all this is sort of learning. See the thing up there, but I'm not sure what it's referring to. The invisible. Okay. And then the sniper. Keep losing lock on. Hopefully I'm in the clear enough to now just go for it. Nope. Timed that poorly. Again, one thing, I'm not always sure it's going to work, but one thing I sometimes try is to use differences in elevation to confuse the AI, have them swing over my head, hoping it makes like the hitboxes get weird. DNX HD. DNX is, I wouldn't quote me on this, but I believe this is true. DNX HD. DNX is video codecs that were developed for the Avid editing software. So DNX, I don't know what the old ones were called. DNX HD is obviously high def, probably a 1080 resolution. DNX, there might be HR. I don't know what exactly. Maybe that gets you to 4K. But it was developed for. I feel like this is like an ambush waiting to happen. I believe it was developed for Avid. Avid is one of the most old school editing platforms. It might be the one that really launched editing video and movies on computers. It's what I started on a long time ago when I was beginning my career and when I was going to school. And at least these days, Avid is, I think, a PC first kind of software platform. So that's why I was kind of hoping it might do better encoding on a PC than like the native QuickTime ProRes, which I know has hardware encoding support on Macs. You know, that makes sense. And ProRes files are what I can deliver for broadcast, so they can be very high quality. You know, in my day job, you know, I have to hand over files that can go on television, and ProRes can do it, and then DNX HD can also get up high enough to do that. So that's why I was kind of curious and hopeful to see how it could encode for this. Not that you need broadcast quality, but the better the quality is going in, the better it'll hold up to compression, getting it prepped for YouTube and stuff like that. So am I stuck on something? I am. I'm stuck on a wall. I might not have been dead there. I just assumed I was dead and went to, because my throat's getting dry, went to get a drink and then realized I didn't see the "you died" pop up, so oh well. Oh, cool. I was about to say, I hope I got that, and I did. All right. So anyway, yeah, so that's why I was kind of curious to experiment with encoding and recording at that level just to see how it worked. And, you know, if it, because in theory it should be better. I don't know, perceptible or not, but it should be better than even what's considered like a lossless H.265. Now this guy can teleport in a heartbeat, but is he going to? I'd rather just fall off and take himself out of the equation. I don't know if that's... Okay, that's bad. Again, can elevation changes confuse? Can my bubbles hit him around a corner? Apparently not. Nope. And that's how you die. So we'll see how this goes. So those are the two things. You know, it's the not getting a lock 60 here in this game, and then maybe cracking a higher res encoding. And who knows, like maybe it all looks like crap regardless. So there's still a lot of questions of should I be returning this card? And the answer is I don't know. I thought I had sort of answered it, but maybe not. Again, first and foremost is video editing. So, nope. Bubbles aren't going well with this guy. I'm against a wall, so that might be a problem. Anyway, I don't know if that kind of stuff is of any interest, but it is the kind of stuff that I sort of think about when I'm, even when I'm playing. And, like I said, part of why I do this is because I'm curious to learn about some of this stuff. So maybe some of this stuff is interesting to somebody out there who hasn't encountered some of this information before. Avid is still one of the main software platforms. Like online, you're always going to see people like, oh, I switched from Premiere Pro to DaVinci Resolve, and nobody's talking about Avid in that context. Like, online creators do not use Avid. The software, it's not even close to the right choice to use for these kinds of things. Can I get over there? And when I started, my job as a video editor, I work on television commercials. And when I first got to school and whatnot, Avid was what we learned on. And just to date myself a little bit, when I was in school, the very first version of Final Cut Pro came out. So gives you an idea of when I was in school. This was graduate school, so it's even more dating myself. Oh, crap. Well, that was disappointing. Now, I haven't tracked down where that's... Is it crossbowman with flame? Anyway. I haven't used Avid in a long time. I used to work for a place that we used Avid for a little while, and then we started realizing just how expensive Avid was, and decided to make the switch. And at that time, what the switch was Final Cut. I don't know if it was Final Cut 7. I know at some point it was Final Cut 7. And that one was a really highly regarded editing platform for professionals. Avid still, had, because Avid was the one that a lot of people learned on, so they just sort of stuck with it. And to be fair, I was one of those people, like, when we were making the switch, I'm like, I don't know, like, I'm used to Avid, like, I just know Avid so well, blah, blah, blah. And that's sort of a typical response that, old school, old timers will throw out there. I did not know he could do that. I don't know, this is going to be bad. now my primary, so Final Cut 7 came, and then they introduced Final Cut 10, Final Cut X, I think it was Final Cut 10. And that was a big deal in the professional editing circles because a lot of people had made the switch. Avid had a lot of proprietary equipment needed at the time. So it could be very expensive to set up the way they wanted you to. I don't know if that makes any sense. But, like in the early iterations, the hardware wasn't up to the task of a video. Just the hardware at the time was too slow. So you had to invest in proprietary Avid, like SCSI RAID drive systems. So it could get very expensive to set up a proper Avid system. So then they started to get better about that kind of stuff. Is this what's going to kill me? I don't even want to deal with this guy. I already dealt with him. So that's what drove a lot of places that didn't need the super hardcore options of an Avid. That drove them away from Avid to Final Cut. So then Final Cut X drops, and it's sort of forward thinking, but it might have been a little bit ahead of its time, and it starts to drop a lot of like hardware support. Hardware support meaning like how do you connect to tape decks that professional editors use, things like that. Because they sort of rightly said, you're not going to deliver on tape in the future, you're going to deliver files, which is exactly what we do now. But the professional world wasn't ready to make that jump. And so a lot of places freaked out. And some of the places I worked at, what they did is they just held on to their Final Cut 7 systems for as long as humanly possible. And even then, they were eventually like, okay, what are we going to do? And so I think what Adobe did that was smart was when I started using Adobe Premiere professionally, I remember thinking this has a very Final Cut 7 feel to it. And I don't know how entirely deliberate that was. I'm guessing it was a little bit deliberate. And so Premiere Pro started taking over all the places that I worked. And, and I was like, this is great. This works great. And I was happy to do it. Let me rest here just to get my potions back. Maybe we can take a look at this church. Again, I feel like there's an ambush waiting for me here. I don't know if we need 60,000, so I don't think I have 36,000 souls and runes just sitting there. In the meantime, people are, some of the discussions I heard people saying were like, oh my God, they're going to make me go back to Avid. Like that's how some people were approaching it. Like people were not looking to go back to Avid. And by that point, you didn't need all the proprietary stuff. It had gotten better. Not quite sure what that's talking about, but oh, the Eclipse shuttle, but I don't know. Anyway, so a lot of places ended up, they felt like Apple had abandoned them. They couldn't go back to. They couldn't stick with Final Cut because Final Cut X was going to make it so they couldn't use their tape decks and things like that at the time they still needed for professional work. And also at the time, Premiere Premiere Pro was better on PC. I don't know if it still is. There's things you can do on a PC that you can't do on a Mac on Premiere Pro. At least with like some kinds of like graphics plugins and stuff, effects plugins. Because I think it wants a dedicated GPU to handle those. And I don't think it sees the Mac, even on the new Macs, I don't think it sees that as the type of hardcore dedicated CUDA, OpenCL, whatever. I don't know. But there are certain effects that I've used on PC that when I brought my project over to a Mac, they're just not there. And so that seems weird. Oh, crap. See, I knew something was in the cages, and so I was trying to lock on, and it wouldn't let me, but there you go. I don't think they can really do much to me, but it definitely sounds the alarm. Maybe it stunned me. So anyway, so like at my office, the machines, if I were to use my office machine, like right now, like I primarily work from home, my office setup is Mac-based. My home machine is PC. And I'm going to stay with that for the foreseeable future. One, like, you know, the hardware is kind of cheaper. And two, like I said, there's just certain things that don't seem to be available on the Mac. Oh, come on. I was trying to roll away from that. Getting a boring history lesson on non-linear editing platforms. DaVinci editing, I don't know how long they've been doing it, but I've only started hearing about it in the last couple of years. And part of what was so intriguing was that the fact that they don't charge for the basic version. And then if you pay for the software, it's not a monthly subscription like Premiere is. This guy? It's this guy. So there's the thing. I you know, if I can avoid paying monthly subscriptions, I'm all for that. I feel like there's another one. Now, I don't know too many places that use DaVinci for editing. Like in like a professional setting. Although my setting, there's a couple different things going on. Let me take this down to open up the shortcut. There's a lot of this castle I still haven't explored, like all the guys shooting crossbow bolts. I don't know if there's actually anything important there, but I'm curious what happens with DaVinci. DaVinci is an interesting software platform to use as an editor. It's sort of one of the industry standard for, how am I doing on, for color correction, that kind of stuff. But definitely not the industry standard for so this fight, one thing you want to do, or you can do, is you can go to a corner. So what that does is it gets all these guys to... Wow. Oh, because I was blowing a bubble, that's why. It gets them sort of channeled. So they don't stay as spread out. Now, the downside is that you're suddenly like 2-on-1 or something. So what you want to do now is you don't want to... I think we can come in from there, actually. But yeah, I mean, DaVinci Resolve is, you know, sort of by like being the new kid on the block, you get advantages, you know, from learning from your predecessors, right? Like, Final Cut was able to learn a lot from what Avid did. And then I would say Premiere, you know, sort of learned a lot from what Final Cut did. And so DaVinci being the latest is sort of learning a lot as well. And I think it has a lot of really good potential. What am I rocking for? I feel like that's not a bad, because I think Frost is magic. I don't feel like that's a bad setup. How long have I been going? Okay. Now, Commander Neil, or however you say his name, I feel like he's the guy we fought in Kaled or something similar to him. So this is the mistake I made last time. Now the question is, is it just going to keep summoning? That's my fear. Or can I finish one guy off and he's truly finished off? I feel like Commander Neil, maybe it's Commander Ed. See, I'm not getting beaten down from the side. Oh, my guy's gone, that's why. Okay. Frostbite, sure. Or was that O'Neill? Was that the guy, like, in the swamp? I don't know. Anyway, so DaVinci Resolve takes a lot more advantage of GPUs, which is a good thing. I don't want to do this anymore. So what I want to do is I want to quickly check in here, because I thought we could actually access the tunnel that was the tower that was closed off, and I'm more interested in following this path because of some of the things I want to get from it. Adobe Premiere, you know, is starting to utilize the GPU more, but it's not to the extent that DaVinci does. And you could say maybe that's good or bad, I don't know. Like, I was having dumb issues with driver timeouts that I wouldn't have had on Premiere. But yeah, I've opened that one up. DaVinci Resolve, though, as an editor, has some interesting things going on. Like, I'm not sure what to think of how it does everything in tabs within the same program. All right, I think I don't see any use. I don't see any. Can I not get off my? I don't see any point to the cut tab when the edit tab is right next to it. I think I'd want to test this, but, like, you know, I don't think you need the media tab to bring media in when you can just bring it in on the other tabs in theory. So my concern with stuff like the tabs is that it sort of is trying to justify each tab. Like, if I'm going to grab a still frame of a video in Adobe Premiere, I just do it, right? I think if you want to do it in DaVinci Resolve, you actually have to go from the Edit tab into the Fusion tab and then sort of understand a few steps there instead of just being able to do it, at least this is my understanding, within the Edit tab. So, like, there's... Oh, where are we? Oh, this might have been... Was this part of the area I was trying to get to and couldn't figure out? Like, I couldn't... Huh. Coffins. So there's a lot of weird stuff like that. That maybe it's just me not understanding the software. I'm far from an expert in Resolve. But I sit there going like, why do I want to do it this way? And sometimes I feel like the answer is because they have established the idea of tabs and they want you to use it, if that makes any sense. Now, that, I'm just speaking out of my butt. I don't really know. The tabs I find useful, doing some, like in Premiere, like I can bring things over to Adobe After Effects if I need to, but I find that I can, if I really, oh, look at that. I find that if I really want to, I can basically handle what I need to handle in Premiere. I can find ways to do it if I really want to do it and not have to go to other software platforms. In Fusion, in DaVinci, I think you would have to go to the Fusion tab. So let's level... No, I'm not even... Oh, right, because I lost. Oh, what is this? Is that all it does? Oh, okay.
A dogged fellow, aren't we? Or is it merely thy habit to talk to dolls? Fine. Fine. I hadn't expected any soul to recognize me in this guise. But now the cat is out the bag. I cannot allow thee thy freedoms. Perform for me a service as recompense. Eliminate the baleful shadows which prowl these lands. The name of Ranni the Witch is already sullied by thee. I will not brook disobedience in this matter. Perform for eliminate
So I don't
the
get
name of Ranni
this.
the Witch is I will not.
Like, I feel like I was doing her bidding. I don't know why the name would be sullied. Maybe I missed something? I don't really know. But so I can see... I can see some use in the Edit tab, the Fusion tab, and the Fairlight tab. The Delivery tab is fine. It's... I think even, like, Premiere Pro now sort of awkwardly added, like, a delivery, an export tab to the software. Which I think a lot of people who are longtime Premiere fans are like, why'd you do this? I was being one of them. I'm like, I don't get it. But, whatever. But yeah, sometimes I find that I want to do something, and the reason why it's making me do it that way is because they've tried to set everything up as tabs. And makes you have to sort of like hop around a little bit in ways that I feel like you don't have to in Premiere. That's crap. Okay, so let me... Maybe the solution is to get behind him if I can. Okay, you gonna roll at me, bro? Okay, I need to get down, because obviously I'm in line of sight of this guy. Who's slower? Anyway, but yeah, I'll be curious to see how everything goes. I think content creation is going to really put DaVinci Resolve further on the map. The fact that it can be free is going to get a lot of... I could see like college kids at least, doing content creation. You know, that it's going to be the one that they teach themselves, if that makes any sense. So I feel like there's a lot going for Adobe Premiere. I feel like makes it very difficult for just a regular person to go for it, because a regular person is not looking to have a monthly subscription, if that makes sense. Like, I can just, if you know, honestly, my office pays for my Adobe Premiere. They have like a corporate subscription, like, and so, you know. But what got me first looking at DaVinci Resolve is when I was paying for my own Adobe Premiere subscription. I was seeing that DaVinci Resolve was a one-time charge, and I was like, what am I doing? So, and the truth of the matter is if, you know, you can figure out one, you can figure out any of them. You just have to put in the time. And they all do similar things in somewhat similar fashions at the moment. I'm sure I'm getting any hits off there. Okay. Now, if you're wondering, how come you're not talking about Avid with all of this? It's because I think Avid isn't worth discussing anymore, personally. I don't like using it. I don't like when I have to interact with other groups that do use it, because then I get dragged into accommodating all the things I think Avid's doing wrong. I think the software... It's obvious that the software was built like a long time ago. And in a perfect world, it would just be a total teardown and start over. But they're not going to do that for a couple of reasons. One, like, how do you justify just throwing the whole thing away and starting over, right? It's expensive, and if I had to guess, I would guess that they've lost some market share to all these other platforms, and so it's not like they're, you know, the richest company in the world to just be able to float starting over. The way, like, in a way, Apple did with Final Cut X. You know, they sort of had other things going on, so they said, let's try to reinvent, you know, let's make it smarter. And in some ways, like I said, they did. They were just a little ahead of the curve, at least in the circles that I encountered. Avid, to me, feels like late 90s software, sort of barely holding together. And I'll take that. That's good. It has like severe limitations because of probably decisions that were made 30 or 40 years ago. Like, for instance, I don't know if you know this, but there are social media platforms that are designed to display videos in the screen resolution of a vertical phone. Doesn't seem like that's a crazy thing. Now, imagine if... Oh, crap, did I just get stuck? Imagine if, in order to do that, you had to have one project for, say, like your YouTube. Oops, I better move. 16 by 9 display, and you had to have an entirely separate project for the vertical resolution of 1080 by 1920, or however you do it. If you actually calculate, 1080 by 1920 is actually not quite right. If you do that, you're sort of blowing up your image, because 1080, you're making 1920 tall when your footage is only 1080, so you're actually expanding it. It ends up being like, 670 by 1080. I don't know what the actual numbers are. But Avid cannot have 16 by 9 resolutions and vertical resolutions in the same project. Avid cannot have multiple time frames in a single project. I think I'm going the wrong way. Yeah, I wanted to go the other way. So if you've got footage that's like 2398 and you got footage that's 2997, it's probably not going to work too well. So it's just like, in the modern era, a lot of this stuff is solved. I think Avid solved this, but for a while, like, if you brought footage into Avid, you had to sort of convert it to its proprietary... Oops. And so it made it really weird for... like if you pull in a file to Premiere or DaVinci, you can sort of right click on it or whatever and say like, hey, show me where this file is, and it will, right? Avid, they have ways to do it now, but I used to hear from Avid editors you don't want to use it too often, though. It was a little less stable. I don't know if that's actually true, so apologies if that's not the case, but that's a weird thing, right? So if you wanted to like hand your project over to somebody else, it started to get kind of awkward. You couldn't just give them the original file. You had to give them, all the files that it got converted to, and like other weird things, like it can only put certain things in like your root directory on the drive, like so you can't put it in a folder, which also, again, weird. Just again, these are, I think, things that are leftovers from decisions, 30 something years ago or whatever. And so like now you can sort of, just use the file in your edit without having to completely go through the hoops of a conversion. But even that was like something they sort of tacked on. It's not like it was how the thing worked intrinsically. It was what they tacked on to sort of bubblegum a solution so that it could keep up feature-wise, feature parity or whatever you want to call it. These things are a little tough, I think. I can't summon. I used to know how to fight these things, I'm not going to lie. I just don't. I mean, I'll take it if it just dies outright because it turned its back on me, but... So a lot of the, things Avid does, I often felt were because, like, oh no, we need feature parity. They're doing something we can't do. What can we tack on to make it possible? And my fear is that something's going to jump out here. I don't really care about my souls too much, but maybe it's not here. So, it's sort of like that. That's sort of, and so I've really, as much as back in the day, I was like, oh, I'd like to stick with Avid. Do we really need to switch to Final Cut? Now, I almost never use Avid. The last time I had to use Avid, it made me sad, you know. And like I'm currently working on a project where sometimes I have to hand things off to people that use Avid, and it's a combination of two things. One, I hate it, and two, I feel like they're very unaccommodating. You know, they're not like trying to meet us halfway on like, okay, we use Avid, you use Premiere. Let's work on a workflow. It's just, you know, here's what we need. You do it all. We don't care how dumb it is. So it's a little irritating. But again, like part of what makes it so annoying is that, oh crap. Like Avid can't do basic things, you know, like it can't accept sort of standard files of how to hand over and edit from one modern platform to another, et cetera, et cetera. So then you end up having to do all these workarounds because again, like the people who actually insist on using Avid, they're not helping you to can I get up there? Yeah, I know try jumping, but so anyway, there ends up being tons of extra steps that get involved. So here's my fear. I don't want to get stuck down here. I don't want to have to redo everything, and I don't know. Well, let's just take a chance, right? My fear is if I make my way down, then I'm sort of stuck. But maybe not. Maybe. Well, that chest is definitely worth coming down here for. I just don't know if I can get back without too much effort. Is that a weapon? So there you go. That's my tight 5 on nonlinear editing platforms and where they stand today. I think DaVinci Resolve has the advantage of being the new kid on the block, so it can. Whoops! I think I just died. Oh, maybe not. So it can sort of see where technology currently is and take the most advantage of it. Where Premiere, came out at a time where that wasn't necessarily the case. I don't want to go there. Do I really have to go back? And I think they're sort of pricing aggressively. So I'm curious if there's ever going to come a time where they're like, yep, nope, sorry, we can't do one-time purchase license for all future upgrades, blah, blah, blah. I'll be curious to see what happens. And I think, like I said, they are sort of the industry standard for color correcting. So, they're sort of new to the editing game. So I don't, expect them to get it perfect out of the box, out of the gate. But there are some things that I think... Is this where I want to go? So yeah, so the first thing that jumps out at me is I'm curious how the tabs develop. And when I sort of watch, whenever they release a new version, they put out videos and stuff explaining things. And I watch those videos and I'm just sitting there going, yeah, I'm still not seeing X or Y. So I still don't get it. Like I don't, like I said, the media tab, I feel like you should be able to bring the media in wherever. in theory, I guess, if you're sort of an organized, like it shouldn't, like you should just be able to bring it in. Okay. I truly don't get the purpose of the cut. This is not what I was expecting. I think at some point, like, the Ranni doll told us, hey, you gotta go kill somebody. And I thought we were getting there, but maybe not. Can we talk to Ranni? Yeah, okay, let's see what she has to say here.
Speak of the past a while. I was once an Empyrean of the demigods. Only I, Nicola, and Melania could claim that title. Each of us was chosen by our own two fingers as a candidate to succeed Queen Marika, to become the new god of the coming age, which is when I received Blythe, in the form of a vassal tailored for an Empyrean. But I would not acquiesce to the two fingers. I stole the rune of death, slew mine own Empyrean flesh, casting it away. I would not be controlled by that thing. The two fingers and I have been cursing each other ever since, and the baleful shadows are their assassins.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. I knew there was another section to Nokrin. I just didn't know how to get there. So when we were in the other area where I got the Mimic Tear and it just sort of stopped, I was like, nope, out of range. Thought I could critical hit her, but I guess I blew it. But at the same time, I didn't think that... I sort of know the assassin she's talking about, and I thought it was closer. I didn't think it was through this other section, and I wasn't sure how to get to this other section, I'll be honest. I had sort of forgotten how to progress to it. Now, I should say the defense that I will hear of Avid is that its tools for collaborating are the best. Because they kind of did it first. And so they were really, they were sort of the only game in town where, editors could work together on the same thing at the same time. Which was key. You can't do, say, a big documentary. So they made it really, and they pioneered that. But I feel like the other nonlinear editing solutions, DaVinci, I think, has a pretty good one because, again, they're new kids on the block, so they could see where others sort of had faltered. I feel like Adobe was the one that had to catch up in that area, and for the longest time, I remember talking with the other editors I work with. They were sort of trying to test it out. They're like, yeah, I don't know, and it just never really came to anything. Now, in my case, I almost never need to collaborate in that sense. So the advantage that Avid might have, which again I think might be not as strong as at this point, but that was a bit of a gauntlet over here. It doesn't apply to me so much, so in that sense I'm able to sort of more easily dismiss the thing that some editors would swear by, what makes it a reason to keep it around. The other thing that keeps it around, I feel like, is sort of I don't want to say inertia, but I feel like it's just old editors get used to it, and they get set in their ways, and when the young blood comes into their editing facility, it's what's there, so the young blood has to learn it. And that sort of keeps it around. And I almost am sure that the young blood probably is learning other stuff in school or on their own, but, you know, they sort of have to adapt. Can I get it? Nope. She's looking right at me. I was like, can I get a backstab? But not realizing she wasn't facing backwards. Anyway. Oop. Got some decent reach to it. Okay, I bet that's a shield. So anyway, I'm curious. I imagine, like, if you do anything like I'm doing right now, you are not using Avid. You're almost probably not using Premiere. Maybe Final Cut, because Final Cut is also a program that you can sort of buy once and forget it. And you can get it. But then again, like, DaVinci is free if you want it to be. And you're going to lose some functionality. But for the things I do in this, like, check the audio and then spit out a file, like, you know, you don't need to pay $300 for that. The other thing I will say, oh, interesting, it's sort of got like, it's got the shielded fronts like the phalanxes from Demon Souls, and I guess they had them in Dark Souls 1, I can't remember about. I'm sure they had them in all the other Souls as well, but question is, can these, they sort of blow through the shields a little bit. I don't know if it's because they get staggered and then those get through. I'm not sure. Oh, okay. Maybe this gets us some mid-range ghosts so we don't have to hunt it down. This is 2. I wonder if we've sort of missed the one that gets you the... Or maybe we can already buy the early ones? I don't recall. I should probably wrap this up soon. I'm doing this at night again because, like I was saying the last time, it's a bit of a night owl and it's easiest to do this when everybody's asleep. But it's also getting stupid late, and tomorrow I actually have to get up early. There's a lot going on. That's also a work day. But the other thing about DaVinci that I found, and again, this, you know, at some point I'm the old guy that needs to adjust to how I do things, right? Like, as much as I accuse people of doing that with Avid. Oh. Do I die here? Maybe not. Oh, and then then he puts the plate up. So one of the things that, I don't know if it's just me needing to adjust, is because DaVinci insists on everything being in one program, it means that there's more... I don't know if this is going to make any sense. It means that your keyboard shortcuts are pooled together. What I mean by that is, like, I can set up keyboard shortcuts in After Effects that are never going to touch Adobe Premiere or Photoshop or whatever. They're totally separate programs, so it doesn't matter. But Oops. But when everything's just tabs within the same program, you got to be a little more careful, I guess. Because suddenly, like, you start, it's, I think you can do keyboard shortcuts by tab, but I think, again, this is the part that might just be me being an old man. It sort of lacks sort of that separation of church and state, so to speak, so that, you know, I'm in the same software program. So like, oh wait, you know, my shortcut here is like Command-Shift-S. But you're like, well, it is, except now you're in a different tab. And even though the cut and the edit tab look very similar and blah, 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 blah. When maybe sometimes there's things that can't be separated by tab, if that makes sense. I didn't need to do that. I need to do that. And so that's something I could also sort of see personally either needing to get used to, or it's sort of part of the it's part of how they've set the software up that I don't know. It's one of those things where like, yeah, oh, wouldn't it be cool to make it all one program and it seems simple and blah, blah, blah. And then there's all these like spillover effects that, oh crap. Luckily, these things can go down pretty easily with bubbles, but you gotta be careful of the other maiden or whatever in here. And by be careful, I mean stand 15 feet away, have her barely notice me, and then just wreck shop with the bubbles. I feel like there's a... Well, now they're puppets, not ashes. I feel like that's a slight distinction. But... Oh, nice. Another larval tier. But I've heard those aren't bad if you're, you know, feel like messing around with one. I've heard those are pretty good. So the question is, have I sort of covered this area, or can I get across? Anyway. Is this where I just went in, though? Yeah, okay. So yeah, I'm kind of curious. Not that I expect people to respond. I know people are like, "Oh, put it down in the comments." Like, you know, I don't expect. There's a reason why people ask for that. It's because that kind of engagement helps drive YouTube algorithms, I guess. And honestly, like, I hope people are having fun watching this. That stick with it, but I don't care if that makes sense. If I get like a bajillion views. Like I was saying in one of, maybe as I was saying in the Demon Souls run, you know, the nice thing about YouTube is that it allows sort of niche interests to find each other. And so like this channel is primarily, it was meant to be something where I document playing physical war games on a physical table, right? I don't like that good luck. Oops, that's why. Again, luckily the bubble has a number on it, but I gotta get the bubble off in time. But, you know, like everybody's doing this kind of thing. And, you know, I'm hoping... Nice. Okay, we can get another ghost up to 10. I think we've got 2 of those. And one I'd like to use on the Assassin Ashes. One I wouldn't mind using. Maybe on the Mimic tier. Who knows? Okay, this is across the bridge, right? Is there anything else over here? So I know that I'm neglecting a lot along the bottom. There's like an entire path I did not take. But that's part of why I talk so goddamn much about the technical stuff. I feel like this is a perfect place for a ball to drop down and kill me. Because of the niche interests. You know, if that crap doesn't interest you, like, you could just play without the volume. You know, if you really need to see somebody play Elden Ring for the 800th time, you know, I want that to be fun as well. But you know, I think half the reason why people do these things is because for some reason the person that they stick with starts talking about something for some reason. And, you know, I'm not an expert on too many things, but I have spent a little bit of time on this kind of tech stuff, both for my job and as a hobby. So, you know, maybe some of it can be useful. You know, codecs, so on and so forth. So I feel like I'm missing something. Like I missed a way through this building to continue. Oh no, this is not the same one. That's why. That's what threw me. Okay. Wonder if the ball will just drop and kill all of them. That's my hope. Oh. This feels like one of those engineering things where, like, after the fact, you're like, yeah, so then we make the doors this wide and then we put the ball in there, and they're like, well, now that it's done, why didn't you build the door wide enough for the ball to get... Oh. Okay. Well, it's too late now, right? Anyway. But I do hope, you know, it's part of why I talk about audio, right? Because, you know, audio is hard, but it's also ironically easier than it's ever been, if that makes sense. And, you know, your microphone matters, but, you know, it's not as out of reach as it has to, you know, as you might think it is. Joe Rogan uses an SM7B. Fraser used an RE20, like, but you don't have to do that if you don't want. If that makes any sense. Like, you know, I have like a pod mic USB. That thing's quite good. If you don't want to get into stupid audio interfaces like I have, just put the USB part in and it works great. It has all the DSP on it, so you can tweak your signal and have it remember without taking up CPU cycles. You know, I have an RE20. That used to be the microphone that sort of sounded the most natural and the easiest way. This feels like it's going to be a pain. I'm trying to figure out why. The Lewitt 440, even the 240, which is cheap, you know, relatively speaking. You know, you can go Google that online and people love it. Oh, I know why this is harder, because these aren't regular blobs, they're people blobs. Oh, didn't have the range on that one. See if I can get this off. Still not down. Wow. I think that's probably Mimic going down. This is me going down next because I can't. Oh no, Mimic got the Mimic's doing the whole thing over there. No, keep it up, man. I just assumed that the death sound I heard was Mimic. But yeah, the Lou at 240, you know, look it up, YouTube, whatever. A lot of the more respected audio, like Tom Buck, I think Epos Fox. Is that a ring? Podcastage, you know, they all dig. There's more, and I apologize. It's just, you know, I should know the other ones, and I don't. What the hell was that I just picked up? Even though I have the 440, the 240. Oh, it's a talisman. Okay. The 240 is like 100 and something bucks. The 440 is 279. Both are a hell of a lot cheaper than the SM7B, although the USB pod mic is 200, and the USB part of that with the DSP and the hardcore signal processing software that you can use and then have it remember. It's crazy. I mean, you know, and if you, and you know, it's not going to do it for you in a sense, but if you can learn the other part, the tools are more accessible than they've ever been. DaVinci Resolve free, you know, Rode Pod Mic USB with like full signal processing that it remembers on the mic, $200, and then you're done. OBS free, you know. So, I don't know. Yeah, but I was hoping for like a more natural stopping point. I feel like I've sort of made my way up and around, but I don't know if it's sort of meant to bring me back to the beginning up and around, or if there was something I was supposed to do. And I can't tell if I just heard a beetle. How am I doing? Okay, close to a level. So I feel like I'm still in new parts. It hasn't, or is this the gauntlet down below that? No, this feels new, right? I kind of lost track, I'm not going to lie. The thing is, once I go down, I'm not sure if I can get back up. That's what's sort of throwing me off a little bit. Well, what's the worst that can happen, right? Or does it just put me on the other side of the gauntlet I would have had to run on the bottom? Maybe that's sort of what's happened? I think that might be it. Oops, I forgot these things explode. I'm walking right toward it. I appreciate how interwoven all this is. Like, you know, I'm seeing areas for like this Ansel River or whatever that you know, I could probably see when I was doing the earlier parts, but just never thought to look, if that makes sense. Trying to remember if there's anything up on that platform. Can I get on my horse? No, I can't. I don't want to deal with those ants. I don't know if it's worth it to deal with them. And I'm happy to just run around these blobs, assuming they don't have any ranged weapons to hit me with, as long as they can just sort of slowly meander around the board as I run around and do whatever I want to do. I'm comfortable with that. Now, again, when I played this on the PS5, I did not have a ranged option. I did not have the bubbles. Oops. Nope, I gotta back off and figure out who's hitting me. Okay, so these guys with the failing shields are very much like their Demon Souls counterpart. I'm timing all these very poorly. Can I get behind them? Oh, these are the exploding ones, so I gotta get away. Okay. Now, is there any reason to do this? There's some kind of probably ghost. I don't know if that's ghost or glove. I don't know if I've got the bubble range to hit him from up top, but that'd be great if I... Nope. Could. Still no. I was going to say, that feels like that should have. Okay. So I feel like there's something there, and then there might be something. Is there a reason to go there? Can they take each other out? Doesn't seem like it. Oh, this guy's... And even if you don't want to spend $200 on the USB pod mic, you don't have to, right? Like, it's a little sensitive. Like, it's not going to reject background noise as well, but one that I kind of like is the Rode NT USB Mini. I think it's like $100. Comes with some decent software. It lets you throw a noise gate on it. I've used, when I do my board game videos, I use a Rode NT USB Mini. For what that's worth. Now, is that just a blue thing, or is that a go get it because it gives you a spell? Okay. Okay, I mean, I've been burning through my bubble, so it's not bad that I got that refilled, but... Ooh. And then I ran off a cliff, sir. That's how that story ended. Ghosts, see, that's good. I think these are some of the ones I need. I'm at like level 7 or 8 on... Okay, so... Let me see where this takes us. This is the danger with this game, right? Like when nobody's awake and nobody's, you know, when I'm the only one up, there's nothing stopping me from throwing down a 2-hour session. I'm going to pop this. Just so I have it. But let me head back up because there's unfinished business up there. Okay. Now, unfortunately, the problem is that when I do a 2-hour session, I ramble. My kids jokingly call it contrailing, because one time they asked me a question about something, and next thing you know, I was talking about conspiracy theories and how people think contrails are this or that, and they were like, seriously, Dad, what are you talking about? And then I realized, oh, I have gone off on an extremely long tangent. And so now they jokingly call it, oh, Dad's contrailing again. Is there anything over here? There's a bright light, but I feel like it's below and I'm not going to be able to actually... Oh, yeah, it's the statue. Let's see if I can get a couple of these things. Oh, that's... Okay, cool. That helps. Just need you to walk into one of them. There we go. Oh, yeah, okay, they can kill each other. I thought so. Ghost 8. Yeah, so if nothing else, I can probably get... And this is why I wanted to do this, because I want to continue this storyline so that I can get the Assassin Ashes, because I feel like I could get that Assassin Ash up really high, really fast, and be good to go. And so, like, when I want to use Mimic, like, near the end of Volcano Manor, I've got it. And when I want to use the Assassin Ash for whatever else, I've got that as well. Nowhere to go. Stuck against a wall. I invented that move, lady. Okay, so this might be it. Nice. Okay. I think we have now basically covered this area. I don't know if we got what we needed, but I thought, like I said, the next step was to kill the assassin that the Ranni doll was talking about. So. I do wish you could get on a horse, because now I just got a long run to that elevator. He said as he suddenly realized that he unlocked the... Can't tell if I just heard a beetle. He unlocked... But I don't know where it is. So I probably have a level. So the smart thing to do would be just double check if there's anything. There's so much stuff over there, and there's a message that's making me think like, hey, you're gonna miss something if you don't. I ran past those guys and picked up what was there, but is there something over here? Doesn't seem like it. And if those ants give you stuff for killing them, I don't know if I care. So, there we go. I don't know if you remember, like 10 minutes ago, I was like saying, oh, and that's how this story ends. I run off a cliff. That's exactly what I just did. Oh my God. Perfect. That's not a bad way to end this. So let me go up there and get my souls. And then we'll take care of some paperwork, so to speak, and then call it. Did I pull this? Okay. It's late, but I think I'm going to... I don't know what other people do to relax before they crash. Like, this is something, you know, playing this for a little while, bizarrely, as I've talked about, is relaxing. Any of the Souls games, if I've played them before, I find them pretty relaxing. Unbelievable. As I run off the cliff again on my way to get the souls, losing said souls. I feel like that's just a blue. I don't think that actually gets you anything. So maybe I did hear a beetle. Maybe that's what I was listening to. I think I'm going to read. One of the things, you know, like, you know, Black Lodge Trivia Night, it's, you know, I'm doing some Demon Souls over there. It's a lot more spaced out than this because its main purpose is about playing tabletop role-playing games. Again, Black Lodge Trivia Night. It's on YouTube. You just search literally Black Lodge Trivia Night. The name comes from Twin Peaks in a weird way. But yeah, like it's stupid, but I like to, you know, because that's a thing now, I tend to read more rule books. So maybe I'll read a little bit of rules and maybe a little bit of a novel.
Blythe remained my loyal ally. Though he was created a vassal for Imperium, he was a colossal failure on the part of the Two Fingers, Blythe and E.G. both. Art willing to give too much to me, yet they both understand what lieth beyond the dark path, that I must betray everything and rid the world of what came before. Ah. Should I add thee to the list? Another one. Kind of heart.
Not comfortable with how I'm bouncing up and down like that. It's a little weird.
This form hath loosened my tongue.
I don't get why she had to assume the form of a doll.
Forget what thou'st heard. Forget.
It's like when a judge says, I want the jury to disregard the incredibly interesting and salacious things that the person on the stand just said. And you're like, sorry, bro, but that ship may have sailed. I know it's not exactly the same thing, but I think I've yeah, exhausted that. Where am I? I wonder if these gloveworts and stuff, like, are they physically bigger the higher the number? Like, I haven't been paying attention to the size, but that one seemed tall. Like, it just struck me as, oh, that's pretty tall, but maybe I'm not really paying attention. Okay, let me just double check where I am again. Waterfall Basin. Okay, so let's head back here. Nope. Might have to pop some runes to have the cash I need to. Let me see if that clothing is his deal.
Hello. You've been
Or did I lose track of who was looking for the woman?
I thank you. So what can I do for you?
Kind of like the idea of that. I don't know if it could stack. Although the one I'm using sort of does buff it that way. 16. Let's see what that gives me. All right. Let's get another level before we do anything else. Nope, I don't need to talk to you. Oh yeah, no, let me... I mean, I don't care about that one, but let's get it. So I still got 14,000, so I can still shop. Oh, wait, I got a bell bearing, too. Let me go hand that in and see what level Gloveworts. Assuming that's what it is, what it's going to open up. Okay, so we can do Grave, Ghost 1, 2, 3, up to 6. That's not bad. It's not bad at all. Do I have? I don't think I have other bell bearings, but let me just double check. Okay. It's hard. So part of me can sort of see the finish line at this point. And so that's part of why, like, I've been sort of stacking these up, and sometimes why these are 2 hours long, and et cetera, et cetera. Not quite. Smithing stone 7, okay. Somber, well, now I've got 8 of them. Might not be such a big deal. This is supposed to be really good. Because it can shoot like a bleeding. I'm never going to use it, but that's why I hand her. Look at me. The nostalgia is strong. But what about the ones I can use? This, no. This, yeah. Ooh. I feel like that could go towards something else I'm more likely to use, but maybe at some point I'll need to come back to that. I'm okay there, because I'm currently using a blunt. Somber smithing. Okay. Bump that up. So let's take a look at this. Blood loss is 55. It's going to do holy damage. It's not going to blow bubbles. But it's going to do, let's see, the bottom is 334 plus 67. That's going to be 410. You know, who knows? It's not exact. 410 plus another 100 is 510 plus 585. That's not bad. And I'm trying to see... Jump and imbue the wing blade with the armament with light. Okay. So maybe when you use it, it puts you up in the air and... Who knows? Let's talk to this young lady.
Greetings, you here for spit?
Short of money, but that's... How's Headless doing? Headless was faithful, right? You know, that's... Headless, you know, part of how this all started was, hey, like, you can get Headless quickly, go to the Weeping Peninsula, don't do other stuff, blah, blah, blah. And Headless has carried us a long way. Alright, let's see how far we can get with the Mimic.
Greetings, are you here for spit?
Yes. Spirit tuning. Let's get you 7. 8. Oh, I'm short. 7,000? I don't think I have 7,000 worth of business. Oh, that's too bad. Okay. Well then, let's get out of here. I don't even know where I'm going. That's Nokrin. I want the... I think there. Just curious, now that what's ahead of us? Just let me take a quick look. Let's see, this is the problem with this game. Like, take a quick look here, then take a quick look there. Next thing I know, it's 3 in the morning. And then this whole thing falls apart. Oh, these things. So you see those little glowing dots? If they're like the Dark Souls 1 version of these, that's their eyes. The big things that look like their eyes are not their eyes. If, again, it's the same as the Dark Souls 1 version. So maybe that one that was glowing had extra XP for killing it. And so their eyes glow when that's how you know it's one of those. And so, see, again, like 48 frames per second it just dropped to. Like, I don't get it. Oh, crap. Can't summon. But this is the assassin that Ranni wanted us to kill, right?
Thou art the last. Tell the two fingers that Ranni the witch cometh. Rend thy flesh.
Looks like Blaith, but...
Fateful wound.
So maybe Blaith was one of those assassins and then sort of saw the light. Can I get this off? Can I get this off? Hopefully that's its only heal. Question is, can I like... Nope, it's gonna be bad. That's what I was hoping. Didn't do it though, so then I lose it. Step back, so hopefully that means if he comes towards me, takes a couple. I hope this could be bad. There we go.
My thanks. 'Twas more of a challenge than I envisioned. Now I can finally stand before them. This is farewell, my dear. Tell Blythe and E.G. I love them.
Okay. So I know where that key is used, I think. Discarded palace key. Let's just see if there's... see if there's another site of grace at the bottom of this, and then we'll go use that key real quick. And then I swear I'm gonna lock this up. Oof, here we go. Lake of Rot. So you can see we're sort of, you know, making some real progress here. We're getting really into the bowels of the world. It's interesting, there's rot here, but it's not under Caelid, which is over here. Okay, but where we want to go now is where we respec. Now, I don't know if it means anything to get lower frame rates on the menus, but in-game, it's a little disconcerting that the highest end AMD card cannot handle Dark Moon Ring. Okay, you need that to progress somewhere. I don't remember where. But you definitely need that for where we're headed, so. So there we go. This is where we will pick it up whenever I can. I might need to. I've been building these up. I have a stack in the queue, so to speak. So we'll see how busy the next couple days are. But we'll go from there. Thanks again, and take care.